Super important. Tomorrow I'm going to be premiering a video of a Draw My Life. Make sure to check around 4 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. So now we're going to read The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. For Jimmy. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I only had two things on my mind, Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough, and I don't. But I guess my own looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair and greenish-gray eyes. I wish they were more gray because I hate most guys that have green eyes. But I have to be content with what I have. My hair is longer than a lot of boys wear theirs, squared off in back and long at the front and sides. But I am a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. I had a long walk home and no company, but I usually loan it anyway, for no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed so I can get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable, like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I'm different that way. I mean, my second oldest brother, Soda, who is 16 going on 17, never cracks a book at all, and my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Jerry, works too long and hard to be interested in a story or drawing a picture, so I'm not like them. And nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while there, I thought I was the only person in the world that did, so I loaned it. Soda tries to understand at least, which is more than Jerry does, but then Soda is different from everybody. He understands everything, almost. Like he's never hollering at me all the time the way Jerry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even Mom and Dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Jerry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then Jerry's gone through a lot in his 20 years, grown up too fast. Soda never grow up at all. I don't know which way's the best. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, and then suddenly I wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream greaser at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the socials. I'm sure how you spell it, but it's an abbreviation for the socials. The jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class all of us boys on the east side. We're poorer than the socials and the middle class. I reckon we're wilder too, not like the socials who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks, and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society next. Greasers are almost like hoods. We steal things and drive up old souped-up cars and hold up gas stations and have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Jerry would kill me if I got in trouble with the police. Since Mom and Dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can, and we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I only mean that most greasers do things like that. Just like we wear hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. I'm not saying that either socials or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. I could have waited to go to the movies until Jerry or Soda got off work. That would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along. Although Soda just can't sit long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Jerry to death. Jerry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along. One of the 4 boys. Jerry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers when you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours and get to know each other real well. If I had to thought about it, I could have called Jerry and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or 2-Bit Matthews, one of our gang, would have come to get me his car if I asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Jerry nuts when I do stuff like that. Because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades and have high IQ and everything. But I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. I about decided I didn't like it so much, so when I spotted the red cover trailing me. It was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking home a little faster. I'd never been jumped, but I had seen Johnny after 4 socials got hold of him. It wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. I knew it wasn't any use, though, the fast walking. I mean, even before the Coviar pulled up beside me and 5 socials got out. I was pretty scared. I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build. And those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised. And I remember how he had cried when we found him, half conscious, in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. I was sweating something fierce, although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, so his best buddy, had once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle, but there was nothing. So I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around slowly, silently smiling. "Hey, Grease," one said with an over-friendly voice. "We're gonna do you a favor, Greaser. We're gonna cut off all that long, greasy hair off." He had a mattress shirt. I can see it. Blue mattress. One of them laughed and then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. Just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged. So I kept my mouth shut. "Need a haircut, Greaser?" The medium-sized blonde pulled out a knife out of his black pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No. I was backing up, away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you didn't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather, shaving lotion, and stale tobacco. And I wondered foolishly if I could suffocate before they did anything. I was so scared so bad, and I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose, and I almost did for a second. Then they tightened up on me, and one of them on my chest struck me a couple of times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. How you like to get a haircut to begin just below the chin? It occurred to me then they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, Jerry, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, and I bit as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again. And they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. One of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake, shut him up." Then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the socialists jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. Then someone had me under their armpits and was hauling me to my feet. It was Jerry. "Are you alright, pony boy?" He was shaking me, and I wish he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Jerry, though, partly because of his voice and partly because Jerry's always rough with me without meaning to be. "I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Jerry. I'm okay." He stopped instantly. "I'm sorry." He wasn't really. Jerry isn't ever sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died, and he looked 25, and a lot of people thought Jerry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son. But they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. Jerry is 6'2" and broad-shouldered and muscular. He has dark brown hair and kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like Dad's. But Jerry's eyes are his own. He's got eyes that are like 2 pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of him. He looks older than 20, tough, cool, and smart. He would be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that is not plain hard fact, but he uses his head. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I had been slugged the most. Jerry jammed his fist back into his pockets. "Didn't hurt you too bad, did they?" They did. I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore, and I was so nervous my hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling, but you just don't say that to Jerry. "I'm okay." Soda came loping back. By then, I had figured that all the noise I heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. "You got cut up a little, huh, Boney boy?" I only looked at him blankly. "I did?" He pulled out a handkerchief, wet the end of it with his tongue, and pressed it gently against the side of my head. "You're bleeding like a stuck pig." "I am?" "Look," he showed me, and the handkerchief reddened as if by magic. "Did they pull a blade on you?" I remember the voice. "Need a haircut, greaser?" The blade must have slipped when he was trying to shut me up. Yeah, Soda is handsomer than anyone else I know. Not like Jerry. Soda's movies are kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. He's not as tall as Jerry, and he's a little slimmer, but he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got gold hair that combs back along, silky and straight. And in the summer, the sun bleaches it to shining wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing recklessly, laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes, but Soda is one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or is dancing out without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while, but Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living, and he understands everybody. He looked at me more closely. I looked away hurriedly, because if you want to know the truth, I was starting to bawl. I knew I was white as I felt, and I was shaking like a leaf. Soda just put his hand on my shoulder. "Easy, pony boy. They ain't gonna hurt you no more." "I know," I said, but the ground began to blur, and I felt hot tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them away impatiently. "I'm just a little spooked, that's all." I drew a quivering breath and quit crying. You just don't cry in front of Jerry. Not unless you hurt like Johnny had been that day we found him at the vacant lot. Compared to Johnny, I wasn't hurt at all. Soda rubbed my hair. "You're an okay kid, pony boy." I had to grin at him. Soda can always make you grin no matter what. I guess it's because he's always grinning so much himself. "You're crazy, Soda. Out of your mind." Jerry looked at us as if he'd like to knock our heads together. "You're both nuts." Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he picked up from Two-Bit. It seems to run in this family. Alright, so that's our sneak peek right there, The Outsiders. I hope you guys can go and check this book out. It's pretty good. And I'll see you guys later.